Well, hello, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to be here to have a conversation today with a very special lady. It is a lady who has taken an interest in a book that I'm writing. The book is Leading Beyond Sustainability, 6 Aspirations for a Brighter Future. And I just want to read the sentence that's on the screen there. Every time we notice, encourage, and celebrate someone who is changing the world, we are changing the world. And the lady that I'm going to introduce you to shortly is definitely changing the world. And this is my celebration of her work. But first, just a little bit about the book. So, Leading Beyond Sustainability is really an encouragement for us all throughout the world to align to 6 aspirations for a brighter future. And briefly, those aspirations you can see on the screen now. They are connection, which I define as all those physical connections that we have, like the internet and social media and everything else that is technical and physical, but as well all those emotional connections that we have, our ability to collaborate, our compassion, love and kindness. And the second aspiration is of peace, which I define as there being no war and ever declining levels of violence in the world. And thirdly, vitality, which I define as health and well-being for all of life. So not just for humans, but all living creatures and the world that we live in. The fourth aspiration is of abundance, which is of sufficient food, water, energy, services and wealth for everybody's need, not everybody's greed. And the fifth aspiration is of opportunity for learning, growth and contribution so that everybody can lead their best life. And finally, for wisdom, where people do the right things in the right way at the right time. So today we're going to focus on the first of those aspirations, which is the power of connection. And what I'd like to do here is introduce this lady, Olga Rak. And in my book, I talk about my personal encounter with Olga. And I title the encounter as Be the Change You Want to See, which is a phrase that Olga mentioned last time we caught up, and one that really summarizes everything that she's about. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and introduce the real Olga Rak. So Olga, thank you so much for being with me today. It gives me great pleasure to have this conversation with you, which is the second conversation I think we've had since we first met at a conference some time ago. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. So thank you for inviting me to this interview. It's a very great honor and pleasure for me because this conference, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago, really changed my life, really. It was really like an event that made me think about my life differently. To look for my own purpose and how can I go in this direction. So just to explain the context of this event, so it was organized by my business school, French business school, where I studied 10 years ago. And it was about purposeful world and how can we contribute to it. And I was working in the watch industry. I live in Switzerland, so watches are very known here, and I live in the region. Almost, not say half of population, but a lot of people working in the watch industry. This conference about how can we contribute to a purposeful world, and really I was realizing that watches are not really what I want to do, and I wanted really to understand how what I have to do to contribute to the world in my own way. So it was one of the aspects of my life at this time, and the other one is I do have two children growing. So what is the world I want to leave for my children, not for my children, but for all the children on our planet. Where I want to put my energy into, for what I want to work to, and what world I want to build for the next generations. So the conference we had started with a sort of meditation. Clive asked us to close our eyes and just imagine what world we want to live in the future. And then after this part, he presented us the sustainable development goals, and that really everything is here. All the goals are here. We know how to go to this future, and since then, the sustainable development accompanies all my actions and all my drives me through the life. So I identified several goals that really are important for me, were important for me, and they are still important for me now. And also the goals that put me into action, and that is the most important part, because there are some things that we are care about, but we don't really have the energy to go forward. And so I really identified that the environment is, and the use of resources are really the topics that that interest me and that put me in action. So I have changed work. I work now for the government, for the public state institution in information technologies. So I find it more useful in accordance with my sense of life, with a purpose. And on the other way, on my non-professional life, but my free time, when I have some, it was really the aspect of climate change and how can we do this. So for this part, we made a lot of decisions with my husband for our household. What can we do? We don't have a car. We use public transport. Our apartment is really well, don't know the word in English.
Insulated.
Isolated. Thank you.
Good guess.
So with all the food, with organic food, we really think about how we what we buy and what from where it comes. And after doing that, really the next step of my reflection was, how can I do more? Because on the planet dimension, only our little contribution won't have a big change. So how can I contribute to do it more? And so this is the power of connection comes to. It was clear for me that I have to connect with other people doing the same thing, and that we can act together and inspire each other and bring our energy together to do things in a really bigger level. So that's how I joined a political party of Green Liberals in Switzerland. So we have this party that represents really green side for the ecology, but also liberal part in the sense that we have to put the economy into sustainable. We have to make economy sustainable and be a part of it. But also keep individual liberties and not only put taxes and say no more individual cars for anyone, for example, but find the solutions and that we have the sustainable development, so it's still the development, but it is sustainable, it's in the limit of the planet. So that's how I joined, come into politics, and I had the courage to be a candidate for this Swiss elections that took place last weekend. So it was really hard time for me, this several months, because we did a lot of work. But a lot of energy also to be really a group and meet other people. So it was a great experience, even if we didn't had this victory in the elections as we expected. But the power of connection is really a great thing, and I think it's really with connecting with people that we can do really big changes and go more quickly and further.
Wow, that is such an amazing story, Olga. And I was sitting here with bated breath, as we say, when you were talking about the elections, because I didn't know that part, and I was half expecting to say that you'd been elected, but you had, you know, you were there, you were in the race, and you took part, and I assume you're still a candidate and working towards that political future.
Yes, like we say in the politics, that after election, it's before the next election.
Exactly. Wow.
So it was the election to the national level for the Parliament of Switzerland that took place this October, and next April, so it's 6 months, we have the elections in the city level. So we continue until we will have a lot of actions to continue to act in this clearly.
Well, naturally, I wish you so much success. I really do. It's very clear that you have a vision for the future. You've partly described that when you've talked about what your party stands for. And the other thing that has been really impressive, of course, is that you've got these three threads, probably more for all I know, but there's your work, there's your political agenda, and there is the way you're living your own life, and even down to the way you manage your home and your family and everything else. And I would imagine, because you talked about that only affects you and your family, but I'll bet there are lots of people who have seen what you've done and taken an interest, and maybe you've been influential in their lives. I don't know if you've any stories to tell in that respect.
I don't know. I think it's too recent to have stories. Yes. But in fact, I have a lot of people who ask me, "But how do you do this?"
Yes.
So just and you, I can do it, and it's difficult, and what is it? So, and I speak about it, but it is for everyone. If you want, you go, and so it's a lot of action that you can do. So,
Yes.
so I will not say that I am an example for someone, but I think that I share my experience with the people who are around me. And maybe not now, but for next year or in 2 years, they will also make their own path and say, I can do this also because she did this. So me too, I can do this.
The truth is, we always underestimate, in my view and my experience, the impact that we have on other people. I mean, if you take, for instance, our meeting, there I was speaking at a conference, which I do from time to time, and it wasn't until several years later that I saw your LinkedIn post about how that had affected your journey. And had I not seen that LinkedIn post, I wouldn't have known the difference that that made. But there were other people at that conference who may have been influenced by the content of the conference and may have made other changes. And I'll never know, just as you will never know how many people have seen your way of life, been inspired, and made some changes. My suspicion is that you could multiply your personal impact by 10 at least in terms of how you're influencing other people. And the beauty of your story as well, Olga, which I admire greatly, is the fact that you're living it on all fronts, on your work, your political life, your personal life. It's so authentic. It is truly you. And such a change from your work in the watchmaking industry as well. I mean, tell me a little bit about how your life has changed, other than the things you've already mentioned, by making that career change.
So when I was looking for the new job, I set a list of I think 5 ingredients that will make me happy. So the one was clearly that it has to be in accordance with Sustainable Development Goals. So now it clearly the 16 making strong institutions. So I work to build the institutions more effective and transparent. So I work in different levels for the software to make it more easy to do and to make data more transparent and evident to do. And so there's one of the aspects. The other one was that I didn't want to do a long commuting, not to impact the environment with the transport. So I defined really the perimeter,
the area,
the area, the distance that that is maximum I can travel with the public transport to go to the work. So there were really some criteria, important criteria that had to be in accordance with the Sustainable Development Goals in my choice, and so I'm really happy with the result. So it has been 2.5 years now, and I'm leading a great project, a transformation project to make the institutions more effective. So it's clearly motivating me.
Wow, that is so inspiring, Olga. And dare I ask, where's it all leading? Where do you see yourself at any given time horizon from now?
I think the world is changing too much, and we don't know what opportunities we will have in some times. So I do not project myself for 10 years. Everything can change till that. But I'm grateful for my personal situation of today. And I really believe that the future will be brighter, even brighter. And so I want to be a part of this change, of this transformation to make this world even better, but with no real clear objective. We have a lot of way to contribute, so it will depend on the opportunities and on the situation.
Well, I hope you don't mind me picking up on something you've just said, and that is the word brighter. And when I started to write this book about leading beyond sustainability, I was using the word better, a better future. But I read a book. I don't know if I've shared this with you before, but a book by a man called Adam Dorr, D-O-R-R, who's part of the Rethink X Institute in California. And Adam's book is called Brighter. And it's a wonderful book about, exactly as you say, so much is happening in the coming decade. And literally in 10 years from now, we won't recognize the world that we live in because so much will have changed. And, some of the things that you've mentioned, like, for example, transport, the prediction is we won't be owning cars. We'll be using technology to call up electric automated transport, and it'll just arrive and we'll get it in and we'll use the transport systems that are there in a much more eco-friendly way. So I love the idea of a brighter future, and it really fits with you because you really are a shining light, and I mean that most sincerely. That's not just flattery, it's true. You inspire me, and I wish you every success for the future, Olga. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I leave you to your day?
Just a big thank you for having changed my life so much in 1 hour, I think, 4 years ago. And I'm really interested in reading your next book when it will come out.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Olga.